Today is April 26th, guys. It's a beautiful day out. Sunday morning. I'm gonna get my homemade bandsaw mill on the go. I'm gonna get it all set up, get ready, and start milling some logs. It takes a little while. It's the first time I set it up this year. It takes a little bit to get set up, but once it's set up, we'll just leave it. And I'll show you how to sharpen the blades and do all the maintenance to it also. Okay, this is the mill, guys. All it is I built the track right here out of angle iron. I'm pretty sure it's 4-inch angle. And I just put some 3-inch cross members, square tubing inside. And you can see there, right here, that's how my log dogs are right here. And then these here I put in afterwards. It's a lot easier using that as a backer than to use this one here. I used to swing that up and hold it, but it's easier just to use the square tubing, so I ended up putting that in later. And I got it sitting on some 6x6s and ties just to keep everything nice and flat. That's for the track. The track's 20 feet long, but it can cut a 17-foot stick because of the mill. You can see here I only used two dummy tires off a Cavalier. So the drive shaft one, this one here, I used a front wheel bearing, and I took the front axle out of the Cavalier, and I welded it up, and I put a pulley on the back, and that's what I got the motor up to. And then this one here was just a rear wheel bearing that I put on, and I just put it on the bearing, bolted it to the bracket that I made. And these are the guides right here. They don't move. A lot of people have them so they slide. I never ended up building that. I just built them solid so they can only go a certain width, and I can only cut a 2-foot diameter log with this here saw. The reason I did that is because over here, there's the wood pile there. The biggest log I got is less than 2 feet, and they're probably the biggest logs that I'm ever going to get around here. You can get a little bit bigger, but that's probably what I'll be working with for the most part, so that's what I'm using. That log pile is probably about 2 years old. I already milled a bunch of lumber. That's how I built my garage over there. I built a bunch of other little projects. So that's what's left. So I'm going to mill all that up, and that's what I'm going to build my shelving for in the garage for my benches. So this is the mill. What I ended up, I got a 15 horsepower motor right there on the side. I ended up I had to build this. This is the throttle for the throttle, so I just push that in, pull it back. I did have a cable on it, but it ended up not working very well. The up and down is on just an ATV winch. It does work good, but there is a gear in it that slips the odd time, so when I'm cutting boards around 12 inches, I think it is, I got to be careful because sometimes it'll just work its way down to like 11.5, very slow. So I got to be real careful of that. It's all electric start. So I got the battery there. And this here, I just got it on a rocker switch. So you just up and down, and then it raises and lowers the band there. So these are the tracks that I put it on right here. I don't know if you can see because of the sun, but all I used is a piece of rod. I welded some brackets and some nuts, and then I just tightened the bolts. And that's how I track the system. So they're on tubes. So the way it is I weld it. It goes up and down. It slides up and down this track, and then this is welded to that piece. And then these bolts I made where the wheels. These are for where the wheels are connected. That's a bracket, and it just slides in on them tubes. And then I use bolts. That's how I adjust the track. Originally, I was thinking on changing the blades like that, like loosen them off, tighten them up and all that, but I found the easiest way to do it, and it's real quick. Because they're tires, I just flatten the tires. I pull the blade off, I sharpen it up, put it back on, just pump the tires back up to, I use 55 pounds of pressure in them. And it's right back to where it was. Never had to, once the track's set up, you could just leave it. A lot easier doing it that way. I wasn't planning on doing it that way. It just worked out way better. So the motor over here, just a cheap knockoff motor, works excellent. 15 horsepower. You'll see the pulleys in there. I got 2 welded on pulleys. You can see the motor. I just built it on little stands, like bolt stands, and that's my bolt tensioner. So I just lift it up if I want to put pressure on the belts. And then I did build a little guard around it so nobody put their fingers in there. Inside it's hard to see, but I got a centrifugal clutch. I could only get a single pulley on the centrifugal clutch from Princess Auto. That's where we order our stuff from. So what I did is I got another matching pulley the same size, and I welded it to it so that it made it a double pulley, and it does work well. As far as the belt size goes, I got a 12-inch pulley on the bottom and a 4-inch pulley on the top, and that seems to work really well for belt speed and your band speed. So I'm not sure exactly what it's supposed to be. Every time I looked, it was like a board foot ratio or something like that. And I did have a couple different pulley sizes, but it was way too fast and it would bog down. So this one here keeps it at about, I think it's about 1100 RPM that spins that tire and the belt. So that seems to work really well. So if anybody's building a homemade bandsaw mill, that seems to be a good ratio that I worked out for. There's not much else. That big steel plate there, I welded that just for some counterbalance, because originally that motor was supposed to go in the center, but after I got everything built, I couldn't put it in the center because it was just going to hit and get in the way, so I ended up putting it off to the side. So I needed to counterweight it. As far as the rollers go, you probably can't see them, but all I got is sheaves. I think they're like pulley sheaves in there, and I drilled the holes, and I drilled the bearing inside the sheave. I just put a bearing, and then I just put the bolt through the bearing that's sitting in the sheave, and the sheave runs along this little bar that I got here. That's the track for the system. The reason I did that is to try to get the blade as low as I can to the framework so that I can cut smaller boards. But once I get down to 2 inches, I don't go any lower because I don't want to take a chance of wrecking the blade. So that's pretty much where I stop. And here you can see the brackets where I made the brackets. That's to put the bearings onto the bolts there, or onto the tires. So they're the brackets I made. Over under here, I don't know if you can see it, but that's the shaft. I just welded a shaft. I ended up having to make a shaft. I was just going to use the axle, but I messed up somewhere and I couldn't get the axle to fit. So I ended up having to cut the piece off of the axle, the twine or tines or whatever it's called that goes into the bearing, and weld it onto make it my own shaft and weld it on that way in order for it to work. And I just put a pillow block in underneath there to keep it straight. I would definitely do that a little different if I was doing it again, but that's the way it worked out, and it does work good. I haven't had no issues with it yet, so I milled up a fair bit of lumber. So yeah, that's it. The cables are hooked up here. Then it runs down, around, and then back up to the winch. So it lowers it and raises it all at once. And it's just a simple little winch. I keep this filled with oil, the spray bottle, just a light hydraulic oil or whatever. And I use that for the bearings and stuff on the wheels. And the odd time I'll spray all the bearings and everything around the blade. And it just keeps everything lubed up, keeps everything moving good. And that's pretty much it. This here, I made this system here. All it is off an old T-square for drywall. And then I painted it white. And then I put my 1 inch marks of the blue, 1.5 inches for the gray, and then I got my number line there. For the most part, I just use the number line. Works out good. My boards aren't a true 1 inch. They're usually about 7/8 because of the bandsaw blade, but I'm fine with that. The boards are good, so I just use that. I don't bother with the 1 inch or the 1.5 inches. Okay, this is how I sharpen my band for my bandsaw mill. I just use the bench grinder. I set it up, and then what I do is I touch the back side of the blade, just zip, zip, and then I'll move to the next one, zip, zip, move to the next one, zip, zip, just on the side of the grinder wheel. And I can do this whole blade probably off the sawmill, sharpening it, back on the blade or back on the mill, 15 minutes. So as long as I'm set up to do it. It was hard to find out how many logs you can saw with one sharpening, but I usually get 3 logs, 12 inches in diameter, as long as the logs are fairly clean. That's all I can get out of it. Some people say it's not enough. Some people say it's too much, but that seems to be what I can roughly get out of a sharpening. These are only cheap blades. They're $25 a blade, and if you buy, I think it's 15 or more at one time, it's free shipping. So that's what I do. The blades are cheap. I usually get about 10 sharpenings out of each blade before it ends up breaking. Seems to be fine with me. I get a lot of lumber for, out of one blade for $25. It's good. I know this isn't the proper way to sharpen it, but the cheapest bandsaw blade sharpener that I could find was like $1,700 plus taxes. So I built a homemade bandsaw just because I don't really have the money for it, and I don't have that kind of money for a sharpener. So this seems to be the easiest way, and it works pretty good. All I do is I find the starting point where they put the band together. That way I know where to start and stop. I can just do the whole thing, go right around, just stop once I hit there. It's really easy, really simple, and it does work. So I know it's not the proper way, but it's definitely cheap and easy. Okay guys, I'm going to show you my setup here. I got my tractor. It's a Kubota L2501. Works excellent. I got the quick connects, and I use the forklift. I got the forks for the front. Excellent attachment, especially for me. So that's what I use to load the logs onto the mill. Also, I always set 2 pallets up, because what I'm going to be doing for sawing is just basically flat sawing the lumber. I'm not going to edge it. I don't know what I need. I don't know if I need 2x4s, 2x6s, 1x. So I'm just going to flat saw it. I'm going to stack all the boards. The 2x are going to go on here. The boards are going to go on there. And then this pile here is stickers, so I can sticker in between. And then everything's on a pallet, so I can move it with the tractor. Keep it simple. That's how I'm going to do it, just because I don't know what I'm going to need. I just want to cut it and start letting it dry out a little bit better. You can see I got my compressor and that set up so that I can just easily remove the band, sharpen it up, put it back on. Takes me 15 minutes. That's what I do. I just set it up and leave it. This here I built. It's time for a new one of these. It's for cutting my wood, the slabs. You always got to deal with your slabs regardless, so you might as well just deal with them right away. So what I do here is I take the slab off, I put it in this little jig I got set up here. I burn 2-foot wood in my wood stove and 1 foot in the wood stove in the garage. So I just put my slabs in here, and these are set at 2 feet. So I can just zip down, zip down, zip down, and then I got my 2-foot slabs. And if I decide I want to burn it in the garage, I'll just cut them 2-foot slabs in half again. Then I set this up. I got 2-foot pallets I made up. And then I got a piece of 10-foot rebar that I bent in like a U shape that I just stick in between. So once I cut the slabs, I just stack them in here. and then it's all with my forklift. I can just pick that up, move it to wherever I want, get it out of the way, and then I can take it right over to my stove with the tractor. There's no double handling. I let the tractor do the work. So that's one of the best things that I did come up with, because now it's real easy to do. The wood gets in there, it dries, and in the winter time, if I leave it outside, I can just throw a piece of plastic over it and then strap it to the sides so that it'll keep it nice and dry for firewood. So that's the setup I have. These logs here are about 2 years old. I want to get them milled up because the outer edges are starting to rot a little bit. So I want to just get them milled up, let them start drying out, and I'll just cut the rod out, whatever it is, and burn it. So, and yeah, that's the sawmill over there, and then I got the tractor for lifting it on, putting it on, and doing that. Don't need the tractor, but man, it makes a big difference of the amount of work it takes out of the project. So I'm going to show you a quick clip of me milling some logs, and if you got any questions or whatever, just leave something in the comments below and I'll see if I can get back to you with any questions you may have. Okay guys, that's about 3 logs. They're 8 feet long and they're roughly around 12 inches, some a little bigger, some a little smaller, but this is what I got. I got 4, 6, 7 2x4s, 1 2x8, 2 1x6s, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 1x9s, and 1 1x4. And then over here, 3 logs usually fills this up pretty good with the slab. I could take the time, maybe get an extra board or 2 or a couple little things, but the amount of time it takes to do that, and not to mention you got to sharpen your blades more and stuff, it's easier just to cut the slab up for firewood instead of getting a piece of strapping. So I burn firewood anyway, so that's what I do. So I'm going to show you what I do with this pile and how I cut it and stack it over there, and then that'll be the end of the video. Hey guys, I just milled up 3 logs. Everything looked good. 3 logs seem to work good for me. I mean, everybody got a different way of doing stuff. So it takes about 45 minutes to an hour to mill up the 3 logs, cut all the slabs, get everything out of the way, cleaned up, and ready to go again for another 3 logs. I know that might not sound like a lot, but that's realistic time, especially with a sawmill like that. So if you like these videos, please subscribe, hit the thumbs up, and we'll see you on the next one. Thanks again.